This is 1,000 years old. Not this one in particular, but the recipe, the dish. It's 1,000 years old. I was recently in Sicily and it reignited my love for these things, arancini. Chefs often have a funny relationship with these things because for whatever reason, they're on every single canapé menu and they're the little silly ones and they take hours and hours to make. But today it's redemption. So let's go and eat one on the streets of Sicily before we start making them here. First arancini in Sicily. Doesn't disappoint. Beef ragu, nicely seasoned rice, crispy on the outside. Yum. This is the birthplace of the arancini, and these things here are massive. They're much bigger than the ones that I've seen anywhere else in the world, and I guess they're doing it right because this is where it's from. Risotto on the outside, and then it's crumbed. It was designed to become street food, so it makes it portable. So it makes your risotto portable. This one is the meat one, and interestingly, the meat's always got the peas in it, which I find pretty surprising. Let's have a taste. That's delicious. Every one I've had here, the rice has been cooked, like it's not al dente. A really nice, simple ragu. Yum. Let's start making some back home. So we're gonna make 3 different types of arancini today, but they're all gonna have the same rice. Now I know in that video that I said it's basically a risotto ball. However, the rice is cooked quite differently to risotto. We use the same rice. We're gonna use a borio rice, which is a short grain Italian rice, but we don't cook it like we do with risotto where we keep adding the stock and trying to pull the starch out. We cook it like we would traditional rice effectively. So first of all, get a pot that you have the lid for. I'm gonna cook a lot because we're making, like I said before, we're making 3 types. I'm gonna need a lot of rice. Turn the heat on, olive oil, 4 or 5 tablespoons, don't be shy. 1 diced onion, and that goes, and a pinch of salt. While that's doing its thing, saffron. I wanna grind the saffron, and the mortar and pestle that I have is way too big for this. I should have a little one for doing this, but hey, I've got a little solution anyway. So take your saffron into there, and then put a bit of salt in there. And the reason we do that is so that the salt takes on the saffron, as opposed to you losing it all in the mortar and pestle. Lightly grind it, so it becomes a powder. And there we go, we've got our little saffron salt powder. But remember you put that salt in there because you don't want to over season your rice. We'll leave that to one side for the time being. We don't need to cook these like fully down, but just sweat them down for a minute or 2. A couple of minutes of cooking, we're gonna add our stock. So I'm using chicken stock. You can use veggie stock. And if you really want to, you could just use water, but I think you really want to get some extra flavor in there. So we need that to come up to a boil before we add our rice. But at this point we can add our saffron salt and then any other spices. So we're gonna use a bit of nutmeg, say about half of a whole nutmeg. Actually a bit less than a half, maybe a third. And pepper. I want it nice and fine too. So now unlike if you're cooking rice for a Chinese dish or a Japanese dish, we don't wash the rice either. It's gonna go in as it is. Bring that to a simmer before we add our rice. Now our stock is simmering, I'm gonna add our rice. Give her a stir. Then just like cooking normal rice, let it come up to a simmer again. I'm gonna turn the temperature down low, put the lid on, and let it cook. Let that do its thing. 25, 30 minutes-ish, we'll have a look. All right, about 25 minutes later, and our rice is looking good. One last stir. It's quite different to a risotto rice. I'm gonna turn the heat off, and I'm gonna add some Parmesan. Just gonna stir that through. The residual heat will melt that, no worries. So now we're gonna put it onto a big flat tray. And we're gonna spread it out. Just be careful, don't mush it too much. Geez, I made a lot, didn't I? Run some lines into it. Gives more surface area, helps it cool down faster. That's it. We're gonna let this cool down completely. Give it like half an hour, 40 minutes at room temperature, just so you don't just completely destroy your fridge. You can do this the day before, you can do it the day of, but it does need to be cold when we start to make these arancini. So it's gonna take a good couple of hours to get properly cold. Before we get back to the cooking, I have some super exciting news. We finally have some Andy Cook's products. You guys have been asking for this and they've taken ages, and the reason they've taken ages is because I've wanted to get this little bad boy, the Andy Cook's Essential Scraper, right. I've gone through all of these samples to get this thing right. Why? Because I wanted to make sure it's right. I didn't just want to make products that end up in a drawer and no one used. I want to make products that you actually use. So as well as this, we have the Andy Cook's Protein Press, which is a great weight to it. Perfect for holding down steaks, holding down fish, doing smash burgers. We have the Andy Cook's Essential Tote, great for your shopping, or just a great tote in general. Has some good pocket dividers in here, somewhere for your wallet, and then a little dingle thing here for your keys. The Andy Cook's Cooler Tote, it's lined, it's insulated, perfect to keep your meat cold. Keep some drinks cold down at the beach. And of course, the Andy Cook's apron. Great pocket here, perfectly designed to fit your phone in it. They're available now, the link's down below. Let me know what you think of them. I'm super excited that I've finally brought these to life. Now let's get back to the cooking. All right, we're gonna start our ragu. Lots of olive oil, 5 or 6 tablespoons, don't be shy. Turn the heat on high. Once it comes up to temperature, we're gonna add our sofrito. Diced carrot, diced onion, diced celery. In that goes. Pinch of salt. Gonna cook that down for about 8 to 10 minutes. Nice and slowly, we don't want color. We just wanna sweat it down. While that's doing its thing, beef mince and pork mince. It's often veal. Veal is really hard to find in Australia, so beef is a great option instead. You can use all beef, you can use all pork, but I think the mixture of beef and pork works well. And make sure you get the fatty pork mince as well. Most pork mince in Australia is really lean for some reason. Then we just need some crushed tomatoes. If you don't have crushed tomatoes, you can just use tomato puree and a bit of water, some dry white wine, and of course, peas. So I'm just using frozen peas here that we'll put in at the end. Every time I had it in Sicily, the peas were like really, really overcooked, which, I don't know, annoyed me for some reason, because I don't think it needs to be that way. All right, 10 minutes later, and our sofrito is, on its way, just sweating down. Add our meat. You can be all fancy and like do this in batches and get like really good color on all your meat. Ain't no nonna in Sicily doing that. I'll tell you that right now. Get the meat in there, break it up a bit, mix it through some of that sofrito, turn your heat to high, and then just brown it as well as you can. Make sure you don't catch your tea towel on tough fire like I just about did. I don't know how many tea towels I've caught on fire. Hundreds. You'd think I'd learn.
It's almost like you'll have to bring out your own tea towel range.
Oh. You had to go there, didn't you? Once you got your sofrito pretty well mixed through your meat, give it another little season. The other thing I noticed about food in Sicily is that they go pretty light on salt. I think that's most of Italy, to be honest. Definitely less than us Westerners or the French do. Once your salt's mixed through, just let it do its thing. Let that meat kind of cook a bit more, but get a little bit brown before we add the wine. All right, so our meat is nicely broken up and it's nice and dry. When you pull it back like that, you can't see any liquid coming through, which is exactly what you want. So to that, we're gonna add some wine, white wine. Once your wine has reduced by half, tomatoes in, and just a little bit of water. Get all that tomato goodness out, stir that through. Once it comes up to a simmer, turn the heat right down low. We're gonna simmer that for as long as you like. 3 hours if you can, 4 hours. The longer, the better, the more flavors. The more flavors, that doesn't even make sense. Where do they come from? I don't know, they just do. You can literally let this just cook. You could, it's kind of blasphemy, but you could put this in a slow cooker now and just like leave it all day. Turn that right down low. Gonna season it with a little bit more salt, a little bit of pepper. Stir that through and let it do its thing. And do me a favor, subscribe if you think that Dazz thought that arancini and croquettes were the same thing.
I didn't.
So our ragu's been cooking for 3 hours now and it's looking nice and dry. The sauce is reduced, it's all harmonious and become one. Time to add our peas. I'm gonna stir those through. The residual heat of the ragu will cook the peas, because like I said before, only type of mushy peas I like is on my fish and chips brew. Looks good, looks vibrant, doesn't it? Then just like the rice, we're just gonna spread it out on a large tray to cool it down. We need this cold before we make our arancini. All right, let that cool down completely. Same as the rice, half an hour, 45 minutes out at room temperature in the fridge and cool down for at least 2 hours. Next up, arancini alla norma, which is eggplant and a little tomato pomodoro sauce, real simple stuff. So we're gonna cook the tomato and the eggplant separately, and then we'll just mix them through at the end. So I've got a little saucepan there, a couple of tablespoons of olive oil, nothing crazy. We'll use a lot of olive oil when we're doing the eggplant. Just crush a garlic clove and pop that in, just to infuse the oil. Let that do its thing. We're gonna dice our eggplant, decent size, about 2 centimeters squared. Cool, now our oil's infused our garlic. Our oil's infused our garlic? Our garlic has infused our oil. You silly Billy. Turn that heat right down and add your crushed tomatoes. Just stir that through. We're just trying to cook these tomatoes just so that they're not raw effectively. We will toss them through the eggplant. We will pull that piece of garlic out too once we toss it through the eggplant. I usually just eat it, to be honest. I love that piece of garlic, big fan. Pinch of salt, some basil, just torn in. Just let that slowly cook. Cook the eggplant, olive oil, decent amount. Eggplant always absorbs heaps of olive oil for some reason. Well, not really for some reason, it's basically a sponge. We'll get it reasonably hot, then we're gonna fry our aubergine off We're gonna do it in batches, maybe 2 batches for that amount and that size pan. You just want enough surface area that you're not kind of doubling it up. You want a bit of color on the outside of the eggplant. You want color before it kind of cooks fully through. So once the first batch of eggplant's out, we're gonna put it on here, and we're actually going to put it on a rack, and that way if there is a little bit of excess oil, it'll just drain out underneath. A lot of people salt eggplant and get a moisture out of it first. I don't think it's necessary unless, you know, your nonna tells you to. Once your oil is up to temperature, carefully add your eggplant in. Oh, I'm only gonna put that much in. A little pinch of salt, let those fry. So once you got some nice color on the outside and they're almost cooked through, you don't need them fully cooked because they are gonna continue cooking out of the pan, and we're gonna put them in some sauce, put them on your tray, and repeat with the rest until they're all done. Eggplant back in, that heat's off, it's just residual heat there. No one needs to panic. We're gonna add the pomodoro, the tomato sauce. Find that piece of garlic, and I'm gonna smear on a piece of toast in a minute. I'm just gonna add this a little bit at a time, because you don't want this like super wet. You just want it to coat it. I think it might take it all, but you can always add more, you can't take it out. I'm gonna turn the heat on. We are gonna add it all. Let that come together. All right, now I'm pretty happy with that consistency. Pour that on that tray. Just, whoa, it was almost a disaster. Just like the other ones, spread it out, leave it out for half an hour before it cools down a little bit, and then in the fridge to cool down completely. And finally, the last one we're gonna make is the pistachio one. So this isn't a super common one, but it's kind of common around the Etna region because they grow a lot of pistachios there, a lot of pistachios and a lot of almonds. That one's simply some pistachio, some mortadella, and here I've got some cubed up low moisture mozzarella. We're also going to use this in the ragu one. Do 2 different shapes, the round ones and then the cone ones, which are apparently in the shape of Mount Etna. So we've got all our fillings. Our ragu, that we'll do with the mozzarella. We've got our pistachios going with the mortadella. We've got some ricotta, so that's for our alla norma, which I've just kind of left out in the fridge on paper towels, just to try and get some of that moisture out of it. You want it relatively dry. What else do we need? The rice, so nice cold rice. I'll try to put them on. So we're gonna make them all. We'll put them in the fridge, let them chill down before we, I guess you can call it crumb them. It's pretty simple. Take your damp pans, take a decent amount of the rice. We're gonna start with the pistachio one. Make a little hole in the center, put some mortadella in there, some mozzarella, pistachios. And then bring it all together, some more rice on the top. And press tightly. You wanna make sure that everything is encapsulated. They do have these like molds that you can use to make the shape, but you know, I'm not gonna have a mold especially for this. I don't make arancini all that often. So you're just pressing it, forming it. This one we're forming into a cone shape. So keeping the bottom nice and flat and having a nice point at the top. I can just see a little bit of mortadella poking out in a couple of spots. We're gonna cover that. It's kind of easy if you use this hand to create the sides. So your dominant hand to create the sides and your non-dominant hand on the bottom, nice and flat, you'll kind of naturally create a bit of a cone shape. Don't be afraid to press it pretty hard. You don't want this to fall apart when you're cooking it. There you go. Rinse and repeat. Now the ragu with peas, similar. I think it's easier with these to make kind of 2 pancakes. So I'm gonna make one there, we'll let that down, we'll make another one, and we'll put one on top of the other. Similar to the last one, we're gonna put mozzarella in this one. So make your second pancake, keep it in your hand, put a nice divot in the center, spoonful of your ragu in the center, a few pieces of mozzarella, push them into the ragu, and then put your second on top. And then we're gonna close it up. Nice and tight and round this time. You can kind of do any shape for anyone really. The round are probably a bit easier to make. I think I've seen like rugby ball shaped ones too, but we won't be attempting those today. The tighter you can get it, the better. You got more chance of it, or less chance of it breaking open. And finally, arancini alla norma. Same, we'll do the round ones again. 1 patty for the bottom, or for the top I should say. Dip it in the bottom, a couple of basil leaves, some of our eggplant, ricotta. Make sure you don't have a tomato on your fingers or you'll ruin your rice. Squash it over. A little bit trickier than the ragu because the sauce is a bit wetter. But same thing, press it together. Make sure you don't have any little gaps. If you do, just cover it in some rice and slowly apply more and more pressure. And the starch of the rice will start to bind to all the other grains and come together nicely. Done. I might have got a bit carried away with the size, but you know, it's a meal. So now these are formed, they're gonna go in the fridge. Now you can do this the day before, you can do this, you know, in the morning for the afternoon, but you really want them in the fridge for a while. The longer they're in the fridge, the firmer or the tighter they'll get. So in the fridge, a couple of hours at least before we crumb them. So to crumb our arancini, it's slightly different to how you would penne, like French style. So we're gonna make I guess you could call it a slurry of flour and water. We don't use egg. It's like a two-step. So it goes in this like flour slurry, then it goes into the breadcrumbs. Don't use panko, whatever you do, you need to use just normal breadcrumbs, and then we're done. And I like to do it in this method with like bigger bowls, because I find it easy. You take it out of here with a spider like I've got here, pop it in there, toss, 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 and then you don't actually touch it, because I hate breading things, and this technique, you don't really need to touch them. So make sure you've got no lumps in your, this has a name, and I'm sorry I've forgotten it. It'll go on the screen here. All right, let me go get the arancini from the fridge. In it goes. Roll it around. I just said you're not gonna get your hands dirty, and then I just plowed my hands on them there, like a peanut. Pick it up, into the breadcrumb. Toss, toss, toss. Lots and lots of breadcrumbs. Lovely, lovely. There you go, onto another tray. Repeat with them all. And then the other benefit of not using egg when you're crumbing is that this is much safer to keep now. Put this in an airtight container and save it. Make some chicken cutlets, some veal cutlets. Put these back in the fridge and then we'll get our oil heating up. And finally, it's time to fry. So our oils here is at about 170. You can use, this is olive pomace oil, so it's not extra virgin olive oil, it's just standard olive oil, but you can use any oil you want really. Carefully lower them in, don't overcrowd it. I'm gonna do 3 in at a time. So I'm just going to use a spoon to make sure that that's kind of covering it all, and just roll them around a little bit, not heaps, but make sure you get even color. I often get questions, what do you do with the oil? I'll use this oil more than once, and then I collect it in a big barrel in the back of my house, and I take it to a waste oil disposal. I've done a video on it as well, there's other options. These have been cooking for about 8 minutes, and they're ready to come out. Pretty happy with that. Onto a wire rack to drain, and just let them relax a bit before you try and bite into these things. Otherwise, you might be in for a nasty surprise. Rumor has it, or story goes, that the reason these are shaped like Mount Etna is that you pull the top off, the steam comes out and it looks like the volcano. Pretty cool. Anyway, next ones go in. The ragu with peas. And finally, big eggplant. Last one's done. Guess it's time to eat one. Ooh, all right, the best part of my job, we get to eat one. Nice and crunchy. Look at that, look how much they're staying together. Oh yeah. Woo! What was not to like about that? I love mortadella for a start, so that helps. Nicely cooked rice, crunchy on the outside, and those pistachios that kind of pop and crunch in the center. Yum, amazing. For me, this is the ultimate picnic or beach food. So if you're going to the beach, hanging out with friends, make these the day before, leave them in the fridge overnight, fry them the morning of and take them, and everyone will love you. And do me a favor, if you've got to this far in the video, check if you're subscribed or not. And if you're not subscribed, then please subscribe. We make videos every week and we love doing it. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week for another video. Peace. Mm.